minds like yours, lesson learned during the lockdown, and what next steps to take going forward in our new reality, the new norm. Thank you all who attended our session last week, and to those who couldn't make it, we were aware of your busy schedule, so we've made provisions for you already. The recording for last week's session can be found on our YouTube, which will be posted in the chat window shortly. And also, we did send the questions and answers as promised to you. Our topic today is Windows Virtual Desktop. So I'll be saying WVD in case I continue to say WVD for short, please. So one of the things we learned during the effect of the COVID-19 as it unleashed unforeseen economic crunch on most businesses, and with workers having to work from home, we found out that employers grapple with challenges of providing necessary tools such as laptops for their users to work with. And since most of this staff uses desktop or all-in-one in the corporate environment, investing in purchasing new devices for your users during this period for most organizations is not a questionable topic, when most organizations are in actual fact are looking at saving the most they can to remain in business. So taking us on this topic today is two energetic IT professionals, Ha-Shem and Adekunle Dean. But a little bit of housekeeping before I hand over the session to them. I'd like to inform you ahead of time that the session will be recorded so that we can make it available for future viewing. Kindly also mute your microphone so as not to distract the speaker. Also indicate with a raise of hand if you have any questions, and if you wish, you can type your questions into the chat window. You can also subscribe to our social media channels like our YouTube, our LinkedIn or Twitter page on Instagram for latest updates on what is happening at Ha-Shem. Finally, I would like to ask you to please fill our evaluation form and help us to know how we're doing, and if there are any topics that you want of interest that you want us to discuss, kindly let us know. So without wasting much of your time, I will be handing over now to Ha-Shem and Adekunle Dean.
Thank you very much, MJ. Thank you for the presentation and introducing us in. We appreciate everybody for being here today for another great session on our Tuesday Tech Talk. I'm quickly to share my screen with us all so we can have an easy view. So I am Dean Adekunle. I'll be working with you with my colleague Ha-Shem to discuss what Microsoft Virtual Desktop is, the benefits, how you stand to leverage on it, and how it's going to improve productivity, reduce costs, and enhance your environment. So this is not my first time here. Last week I was here to discuss what application proxy is. So I'll just do a quick introduction of myself, and my colleague Ha-Shem also would introduce himself, then we get business going. So like I said, I'm Dean Adekunle, cloud security engineer with Ha-Shem, an MCT, and most of my time is on Azure and Office 365 and other security solutions also. So I'll leave the ground to Ha-Shem to introduce himself.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Adekunle Dean, for that. My name is Ha-Shem, a cloud platform engineer, also your favorite database engineer. I have certifications around cloud administration, also some certifications around backup solutions like Vim and Veritas. So I'll just allow Adekunle Dean to run you through the slides, where then I take it further from there, where I take you through a short demo. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ha-Shem. Thank you for that. Just to quickly confirm, can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can, Dean.
Okay, fine.
Yes,
so for me, okay, thank you. For me, I'll be walking us through the presentation, discussing what Windows Virtual Desktop is in essence, and the benefits, and some other information you need to know before going into this product. While Ha-Shem will be walking through this demo, is going to show us the real life scenario and how it works in real life, because I know we have most IT admins here that would want to see how this thing works, the underlying infrastructure and the rest. So I hope this section is going to be very informative. If you have questions, please let us know. You can put it in the chat also, and we'll get back to you. So before I go straight to the point, I know MJ, she's a CTO. She has been in the IT world for about 1 million years now. She's conversant with so many vendors, so many people. Before I go into Windows Virtual Desktop, I'd like to ask her a question, though. So during this pandemic, MJ, are you with me?
Yes, I'm with you, but you're taking me off spot. All right.
Okay. So during this pandemic, we noticed that a lot has happened. So I'd like to ask you, because I know you have so many experience in the IT world. What do you think is going to be more cost effective for organizations? Is it the fact that they have to fix user PCs because they are working from home and their kids can slam their laptops, their kids can spill tea or water into their keypads and it will just stop working? Is it the cost of fixing this PC, or even the cost of having to acquire a new hardware for their users that have to work from home? So which of these two?
That's a real one. That's a real one, I must comment. So one of the things you want to keep in mind first is that the actual cost of a product is only one part of the total cost of ownership of that product for an employer. So if I look at many organizations, the sum of all the costs incurred will be even how the products, the hardware is with the staff, the hardware product life cycle, the maintenance, the damages, the replacing of the PC peripherals, the component, not to mention of even when these components this hardware at any time are stolen. So those are some of the things you want to you want to look at. Either of it, at the end of the day, what you just described, at the end of the day, comes down to the total cost of ownership, which will actually, you will be weighing around your CapEx, really. So either to break or fix or purchasing a new one, I'll say is almost the same for me, really. Although when you look at it, you will be purchasing, in now investing in more, you will be purchasing. But when you've had already, you also look at what you have gotten at that time till date. So I think for me, that would be my take on that. I guess I'm able to put lights to that for you.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's a very good one. But at the same time, also, that's why we are here, Microsoft Windows Virtual Desktop. This handles both, actually. If he handles your CapEx and your OpEx, that's your capital and your operational cost, when it comes to break and fix and when it comes to acquiring a new PC for your end users. So Microsoft Windows Virtual Desktop, most of this section, I'll be using WVD, handles both scenarios. So let's see what that looks like. But before then, let me show you what my agenda is going to look like today. I am going to be talking about what it is, that's WVD, and I'm going to do a little cloud computing tutorial for some of us that are newbies when it comes to cloud. Showing us, discussing with us why we need the cloud now and why we need the cloud and why now, because I know cloud now is, because of the epidemic, we have been forced to go to the cloud, most of us actually. So next, I'll be showing us and we'll be discussing also the concept and the overview, then the benefits, then the environment. So before we even go to the demo, I want you to have like a view of what the environment is going to be like in your head. So once Oluwaseun is going through the demo, it makes it easier and it puts things into perspective for us all. Then also the requirements, what is going to be required when it comes to licensing and when it comes to Azure Infrastructure. Because in essence, the WVD is in the cloud, so you need an Azure Infrastructure. As we go on, so this presentation is really going to be short because we have a lot to do when it comes to demo. But then, what is Windows Virtual Desktop? So that's the question everybody wants to ask. So it's in essence, it's a comprehensive desktop and virtualization service. It runs in the cloud. It enables your users to work from anywhere. They can use their PCs, their laptops. They can use their iOS devices. They can use their macOS devices. They can use their Android devices to connect to any of these resources in the cloud that you have provisioned to them. and they work as if they are working in your network or in the office. So the user experience is seamless. They don't have to acquire any additional thing, because the laptops they are working is their personal PC. It's not domain joined or anything. So they are able to work with those devices to connect to resources that's been assigned to them, and they're able to work. Also, another thing we need to note is that, in as much as most people would like to call it a desktop as a service in the cloud, but then WVD really encompasses of what it entails is two things: platform and infrastructure as a service. So when I mean infrastructure as a service here, I mean that because you would need to be provisioning VMs on Azure. So that's the infrastructure aspect of it. And as an IT admin or as an organization, that's really what you need to just do. That's your own part. That's your role you'll be playing here. Every other thing is managed by Microsoft. That's the PaaS. Now, all the services that enables you to run WVD seamlessly is being managed by Microsoft. So your management here is just concerning the infrastructure, your operating system, the machine itself, the sizing, and the rest. We're going to see what that looks like later. Then also, another good feature of WVD is, do you know that WVD is the only multi-section Windows 10 experience? So I know most of us are familiar with RDS, that's your remote desktop service. We know that it's only Windows Server, the operating system supports, and also you do not have you don't. This is the first time, and not just when it concerns Microsoft, even other vendors, because other vendors also have their VDI solution. WVD, in essence, is Microsoft VDI solution. So even other vendors do not have a multi-session Windows 10 experience for you. And it's also even optimized with Office 365. So you can have your application deployed with your Windows 10 experience that enables the multi-section, in essence, means that it enables more than one users to simultaneously use a machine that's been assigned to them. So once you deployed a VM and you add your Windows 10 Enterprise multi-section operating system to it, it means that your users, irrespective of the amount, can log on to a single machine and use it simultaneously, as if they are working on their personal PC. So the experience is great, and this is only supported on Windows Virtual Desktop. It is not supported on premise. You cannot have this and use it on premise. No, it's only optimized for virtual environment. That's your WVD.
All right, Dean.
And
sorry.
Okay.
Dean, a quick one. Please, I think your slide, you're showing it within Teams. Probably maybe you want to bring it out because it's a little bit not so large enough for us to see. I don't know if I'm the only one. So, because your slide, you're presenting it within Teams, not like you're presenting your. All right, thank you.
How about now?
Okay.
Okay. Is this better?
Yes, very well. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So like I was saying, it's easy to deploy and you are able to scale down, scale up within minutes. And also that's one of the benefits of using the cloud. And their built-in security solution and compliance, to stay compliant. All of these we are going to discuss in the upcoming slides. And it's going to put all of these things into perspective for us. So it's also an affordable virtualization. So why do I say that? I already said earlier that you have the PaaS and you have the hires. So this is what it looks like. So typically you have your on-premise infrastructure. That's fine. You have it synced to your Azure using your AD Connect, which is fine, no problem. Then we are going to also talk about this on-premise because it can be broken down into so many things for us to understand better. Then you have your PaaS. So as a user, you want to get your resources that has been assigned to you from your personal PC. You want to be able to use a desktop. You want to be able to use an application, which I'm going to discuss later also. You have to go through the PaaS services. So which is what Microsoft manage. Microsoft manage the gateway that helps you create connections to the resources you have. Microsoft also manages the broker. So the load balancing also, the web access, everything is being managed by Microsoft. So I know most of us have worked with RDS for some years. Have also deployed RDS, that's your remote desktop services. Would be familiar with all of this, solutions, or should I say services, because when you're deploying RDS, you have to create all of these together with it. So for it to work seamlessly, you have to have a broker, a connection broker server. You have to have a gateway. You have to have a web access. All of this, and you have to manage your own load balancing together with it also. So all of this is being done seamlessly for you by Microsoft. So all you need to manage is your application and your desktop host. So I'm going to tell us what the desktop host means and what I mean by applications also. So, but before I tell you all of that, I told you earlier that I'm going to be doing like a few cloud computing tutorial. I just want us to know that the cloud is what we cannot run from, because digital transformation these days has gone AY. Everybody has to be in the cloud, and even now, Corona has forced everybody to work either remotely and to access things without their reach. Okay, so when I mean that is, who would have thought that 10 years ago I'll be able to unlock my PC or my devices just with my facial recognition? Who would have thought all of this would be possible? So this is because of the new evolution when it comes to cloud. It's seamless. Automation is very, very seamless also. I can deploy hundreds of resources within minutes. I can automate my tasks also. This is because of the cloud. It's the capacity level is flexible. It's scalable. I can scale up, scale down. We just depending on my workload also. And also the good thing about it is the centralized management, because with a single management hub, I can manage more than 5, 6 resources at once as an IT admin. So the simplicity here comes with the fact that I don't have to have so many human resources to be able to manage my workloads, my resources, and the likes. And also when it comes to security, the cloud has done so much. Also, Microsoft invests so much on security because they have so much to lose more than us, really, because they have so much customers. If Microsoft is compromised, then they are going to lose so much more than us. So they take this very serious. They have to protect their devices, protect solutions, protect their identities and the likes and data. And the running cost also is cheaper because you only pay for what you use. You don't have to pay upfront. You don't have to pay for what you are not going to use. You only pay for what you use, in essence. So with that said, some of the concepts and the overview before I go into the environment and what it looks like is that the user experience is seamless. WVD gives you a very good user experience because, like I said, the user is going to be working with on their PC or their devices, either their mobile devices or their laptops, or even a web browser. They are going to be working on any of this platform, and they are going to have the same experience like they are in the office. They are going to be able to connect to your network. They are able to use your line of business applications. They are, and the like. So the experience there is just the fact that they are using on that device or they are not in your network. So for your remote workers or your field workers, on their phone, they can work on documents, they can work on line of business applications, even check their mails, and everything is seamless. They don't have to worry about hardware issues or infrastructure issues. And also it has security because you can integrate this with conditional access and MFA, and Azure Active Directory obviously does the authentication for you. So this is also secured. It gives you rich user experience. And another cool thing I need you to know about is WVD also supports Windows Hello for Business. So for those that are familiar with Windows Hello for Business or passwordless authentication, WVD also supports it. And the operational cost is seamless. You don't have to fix anybody's pieces. You don't have to fix anybody's devices. And the capital also, because it's in the cloud, you can start small, obviously, and you'd only pay for what you use. So you don't have to spend so much. Then also, like I said earlier, there are other virtual desktop infrastructure, that's VDI vendors that Microsoft has integrated with. So if you have your Citrix, if you have your VMware, no problem. The ecosystem is strong and the partnership there is seamless. Recently, Microsoft partnered with Citrix to give you better experience when it comes to, I think, I think I've forgotten, but then they partnered and they're able to give you an optimized environment when it comes to WVD. So there's so much more also when it comes to WVD, but because of time, I'll just give you the key points. So the benefits of using WVD, I've said it earlier, it's cost effective, simplified management, the security is improved, and compliance also. Business continuity and advanced condition is that irrespective of the location I am, still able to access my resources irrespective of the location. And also, with any of my devices, it supports your Android, your Mac OS, your iOS, and obviously Windows also. And it supports your legacy application, your line of business apps also. You're going to see what that looks like when we go into the demo. So this is WVD. So WVD is essentially into two. You have what you control and you have what Microsoft manages for you. So what you control, like I said earlier, because of the infrastructure here, you are going to have your virtual machines. You are going to be in charge of the sizing. You are going to be in charge of the density, your CPU, your GPUs. You are going to be in charge of. You are going to be the one to specify and be in charge of all of those. And also, when it comes to your operating system, you have a number of options. You're in charge also to choose what kind of operating system you want. And it also supports your server OS. And another thing is you can bring your current RDS infrastructure to WVD and work seamlessly. So you have your Windows 10 Enterprise multi-session, or you either want to use your Windows 10 Enterprise. That is, you just want to use Windows 10 and you have assign a single desktop to your user. We're going to go into full details of that. Then you also support Windows 7. So if you are using Windows 7 with WVD, you are going to have extended security update until 2023, I think, I believe, or 2022. Even though Windows 7 has support has stopped early this year. Then you're also in charge of your images. So the images you use for WVD, you can choose to use your custom images whereby you have all your applications, so your security on it. Then you bring it into Azure and you're able to use it to deploy your machines that you're going to assign to your users. They are also in charge of profile management. We are going to talk a little about that later in the slides, what profile management is also. And you're in charge of your network policies, obviously, because WVD machines are going to be domain joined. So obviously you're in charge of anything that happens within your network. So it's assumed that you have this PC within your network. So it's not like they are work group PCs, they are domain joined PCs. So everything that affects your network also affects the resources you have within WVD. Then you have your user management. You're in charge of your users management and identity. So when it comes to your users, your computer objects also, because these machines, after you deploy it, they are going to be in your computer's OU. So you're able to do good policies on them for better security. You can even lock applications and the like. So you are responsible for that. You're responsible for your users also, the users that are able to see what the resources you assign to them. Because obviously you might not want to assign to all your users. So specific users that you want to assign, you are responsible for their management. And also when it comes to this identity and user management, like I would like to say that I said earlier, the machines needs to be domain joined. So that means that you need to have a Windows directory services. Either you have it on-premise as an on-premise infrastructure, or you have it in the cloud as an IaaS, or you have it as a PaaS. So the PaaS here is, I know most of us are familiar with the Windows Active Directory on-premise, and we are familiar also with the concept of you bringing on machines on Azure and installing your Windows servers on Azure. Yeah, but I figured most of us might not be familiar with Active Directory as PaaS. So as a platform as a service, meaning that Microsoft manages all of this for you. One, you don't need to spring up any virtual machines. You don't need to even have your What else? What else? What else? What else? You don't need to have any infrastructure. You don't need to install any ADDS role. Fine. So any of those infrastructure, you don't need it. So all you do is it's a managed service by Microsoft you apply for. You set up just your DNS. Microsoft even automatically gives you 2 DNS servers. So the underlying infrastructure is known by Microsoft, which means that you would never have to worry about patches or updates or of those servers, because you don't even know. What you see is that you have your DNS servers when you want to join your PCs to the domain. So you can be also domain to join. You can even do group policy objects. But if you now want to do some other things, you might need to, okay, fine, maybe you want to install the outside tool on your machines, so you'll be able to connect to the PaaS service, the Azure ADDS domain services, to be able to also see some other things. It works the same as your on-premise a directory service, as your Windows Active Directory, or when you have it on IaaS. So either of them, you are able to use it with WVD. And also, maybe in the slide, you're going to also see there are some caveats to it also that I'll mention it later. But for Microsoft, I said earlier, Microsoft manages the broker that gives you the resources when it has been assigned to the users. It manages your gateway, so you don't even need to break your head over all of these things that Microsoft manages. You don't need to worry about patches. You don't need to worry about updates. Microsoft does everything for you. And even when it comes to the networking, how you connect to it, Microsoft manages that for you, and your computer, your storage also, Microsoft manages that for you. Because with this also, a database is also deployed, but it's not on you, it's on Microsoft. So who manages that is Microsoft. So you don't need to worry about all the underlying infrastructure that enables WVD to work. So with that said, so the environment now. So this is WVD proper. I hope the previous slides has been able to give us an idea of what to expect. So this is the environment. So typically your Azure portal, when you're about to deploy your WVD environment or want to start using WVD, there are a few things you would see and there are a few things you need to configure. So first off, you are supposed to start with your host pools. So what are host pools? So host pools is a collection of identical virtual machines. So because when you are setting up your host pools, you can choose to set up 5, 6, 10 virtual machines at once. So they are identical. Anything you do on anything you configured during your host pool configuration affects all the virtual machines in the WVD environment. So and then each host pool. So now, for instance, I have one host pool with 10 virtual machines. I can have another host pool with 5 virtual machines. The one I have, the host pool A, that is with 10 virtual machines, are identical VMs. I can choose to create an host pool for my graphics designer with higher configurations for my VM, because I know that they require more resources. So I can choose to create that host pool. Then I can choose to have another host pool with lower resources, because it's just going to be for field users or the likes, because they are not going to use as many resources as the graphics guys will use. And you can, so the host pools now contain application groups, which is what I'll be talking about in the next bullet. And so these application groups is what the users interact with. So and when they interact with them, it's the same experience like they're working on your physical desktop. Yeah, so the host pool has 2 types. So when you are setting up your host pool, which is what will actually show us, you have an option to select either a personal or a pooled. So what the personal does is, what the personal means is that as an IT admin configuring my WVD environment, I want to assign one section host to an individual user. So when I mean section host here, which is what I'll be using mostly in the slides coming, is more of it's a virtual machine. So this virtual machines that has been deployed when I was deploying my host pools, I can choose to either make them personal, that is one virtual machine, I want it to go to one user. So I'm giving a desktop to a user, that's what it means. Or I want to have a pooled host pool that any users, maybe 5, 6, 10 users, can connect simultaneously to a single session host. So this means that section hosts can accept connection from any authorized user to an application group, so within the host pool. So in essence, what this means is also that, okay, when I get to the application groups, I'll explain further. I'll explain what other things you'd configure during the host pool. Then you have the load balancing options also. In the previous slide, I said that Microsoft manages the load balancing for you. But then, as a customer, you are able to choose what kind of load balancing you want. So you have an option to choose from the breadth first or the depth first. So what this means is breadth first. Let me give a simple scenario. So I have a single host pool with 5 section hosts, and I have about 30 or 20 users. So what breadth first does when it comes to load balancing is I have 5 host pool, right, and I have 20 users. So if a user needs to connect, it connects the users to one of my section hosts. If another user needs to connect to the second section host, maybe section host B, another user connect to another section host. So it doesn't have to. It spreads it evenly on your session host. It spreads the connection evenly on your section host in essence. But when it comes to depth first would. So also during the configuration, you're able to choose the maximum user you want to be able to connect to each host pool. So if I had chosen 5 users to be able to connect to each section host, rather, it means that when a user wants to connect the user to one host pool, another user, the same host pool, until he gets to its limit, maybe it's 5 or 10, as you may, he gets to its limit, then he redirects the next user to the next session host. So rather, so if that session host is also has also gotten to its limit, it redirects the user to the next session host again. So that's the 2 load balancing options they have, either the breadth first when it comes to you want an enhanced environment and that is user experience, or the depth first when you're trying to save cost and you want to use a resource to its limit before you move to another one. So you have those options. Then you have the application groups. So like I said, the application groups is what is really the WVD environment. Is really what is WVD. So as an IT admin, it means that I have 2 options of resources to assign to user. So application group is the logical grouping of your application installed on the section host in the host pool. So we have 2 types. We have the remote app. So what I mean by remote app here is that I do not want to give the user the whole desktop. I want them to only work with applications they work with day to day. That's simple. That's what it means. It means that if I have a user that only have to check an email, only have to work on some documents or Excel application, why don't just give those users that user those 3 applications and they are fine, instead of giving them the whole desktop to use. And also, or you want to give them the whole desktop, which is the second option. That means I'm giving the user access to the full desktop. So either of the 2, it depends on your workload and it depends on how you want to manage your environment. Then finally, we have the workspace. So the workspace is also a logical grouping of your applications in the WVD environment. Then it also means that each WVD application group must be assigned to a workspace. So if you don't assign any of these resources, either the applications or the desktop, to a workspace, the users will not be able to use it. Even when they try to log on to the resources, they are not going to see anything because there's no workspace. So the workspace is more of a platform where they are able to see their resources and they are able to pull resources from to use. So that's your workspace. So these 3 things are the key things when it comes to WVD, and it's what as an IT admin you'll be working with day to day. So moving on from that is the workflow. So how does it work in essence? How do my users acquire the resources, or what is this underlying infrastructure or the solution or the when it comes to WVD? So yeah, I have a user. He's trying to connect either from his web browser, or from an Android phone, or from a Mac device or a Windows device. So first off, you're authenticated by Azure Active Directory, which is always what it is when it comes to cloud applications. So once you are authenticated by Azure AD and it authenticates you, it gives you a token that you're going to present to any of these Microsoft managed service. So, sorry, yeah, you're going to present to this to Microsoft, any of these Microsoft managed service. That's your gateway or your broker. So once he presents it to the gateway, which is the web access, which is number 2. So the token is presented to the web access. Then I told you earlier that there's a DB configured underneath by Microsoft, which you don't have to worry about. The DB is where the resources are stored or where they are when you provision resources. The DB is what keeps them. So the broker now, the broker queries the DB to see if you have any resource assigned to you. So if you have any resource assigned to you, then it selects the resource. Then the clients you're using to connect, either you're using, so okay, okay, fine. I'll probably get back to that. So depending on the clients you're using, then it connects you through the gateway. Then you're able to access your resources. Either it's a desktop that has been assigned to you, or either an application. So what I remember then was that the client. So how do you connect? I said either a web browser or or from any of these devices. In essence, what that also means is you can download the client and install it on your device. So there's a downloadable software or application, if you may, that you can install on your device. So when you click on it, it presents you to it redirects you to your WVD environment, and all you just need to do is log onto it. Then you are presented with your resources, or you go through a URL. So those are the 2 options you have. And the clients you can get from your you can download it from your Play Store, your App Store, or your Windows Store also. So there are 2 other things here, which is the Active Directory and the FS Logic. So for an enterprise deployment, you would typically need to be working with FS Logic. It's a company Microsoft just acquired that helps you create a profile container and application masking when you're working with WVD. So in the essence, what it means that the profile containers, it stores your users' profiles somewhere else, and anytime they need to sign into a session host, you attach their profile to them. So irrespective of the session host they are signed into, because it can be randomly. It's not the same session host you sign into now. You might sign in the next 10 minutes. So your profile, with FS Logics, you attach your profile to any of the session hosts you have been signed into. So it gives you the same or persistent user experience, which is very, very superb. So you can use this with your file server, your Azure file share, and the like. So just to get that same user experience also. And also another thing I might forget to mention is WVD also supports Teams. So when a user is on WVD, can use their Teams also to join meetings, to have video call and video conferencing as you may also, and your OneDrive. So typically you want to be leveraging on OneDrive because every user have 1 TB of OneDrive that you can leverage on. So you can always configure non-folder move, whereby you automatically move the user's folders when they work, and anywhere they can access their folders and their documents also with OneDrive non-folder move. When it comes to security also, you have a number of options. So these are some of the best practices when it comes to security. It's advised that you enable MFA. So with conditional access, obviously. So you want to be able to restrict access depending on the user location, or if the device is LD or it's not LD, you want to be able to restrict access and require MFA or even block access also. And typically it's advised that you work with your audit logs to see what's going on within your WVD environment. And also best practice is also that you should use remote app where possible. Don't give users all the desktop. Why not just give them applications they work with? And you're going to see that experience that when you're assigned like a Word application, all you do is on that word. You are not even going to know if there are other applications that can be assigned to you or that can be used. But when you give a user the old desktop, they are able to navigate around and do other things, even though that there are a number of security features you can work with that is going to mitigate any of those things. You can block download from Microsoft Store. You can use your app lock to restrict some apps. You can also have a number of security options like you have presently on your infrastructure. And like I said, you have your group policy that is also going to be applied to it, obviously, to restrict some things. Then it's also advised you monitor the usage and the availability. You have it's integrated via your Azure monitor to help you see all of that. Then it's also advised that you are obviously responsible for your endpoint protection because you're protecting the machine like you're protecting any other machine. So you need to have an endpoint protection solution that's the antivirus on the machine also. Then you need to make sure that the operating system the machine runs is always up to date. And you need to establish a tiered admin access whereby you want to restrict anybody from installing or any application on the environment because you want to make it restrictive as possible and nobody should just download and install anything on it. So we are almost done. Then when it comes to requirements also, I said earlier, you have two things you just need to worry about. And I know that one of it, you don't even need to worry about it. That's the Microsoft license. Any of the license you require, which is what you see in the next slide, I think most of us already have it. So the next thing is the Azure infrastructure. So what do you need on Azure to be able to leverage on WVD? And when it comes to the license, this is it. The license, you need to have any of these licenses. That's your Microsoft 365, E3, E5, Business Premium. I know most of us have either of them, or you need to either of these, or either this Microsoft 365 license, or you have your Windows 10 license. Either of these works for you, and I know most of us already have this, so this is a given. And if you are also deploying your Windows Server, bringing your Windows Server environment, your RDS environment also, all you need is your power user or advice RDS client CAR license with SA as software assurance. So all of this, I know that most of us already have. So bring this to WVD and you're able to continue using and give a better enhanced productivity in your infrastructure or your environment. So, but then when it comes to your Azure, which is what I think most of us would be worried about, because I know that most of us have not started leveraging Azure, that's the resources itself. So first off, you need to sync your users to your Azure AD for authentication. That is, if you either have it on-premise, like what most of us have now, or you have it on IaaS, that's on Azure, you need to sync it, or you even have it on PaaS, that's the Microsoft Managed Service. You need to sync it to your Azure Active Directory using your ID Connect also. Then you need to have an Azure subscription because you are going to be deploying a number of VMs, virtual machines, and you need to have a network also because this is how you connect to it. So if you have an IB infrastructure or you have an on-premise Active Directory and you need to connect to Azure, you might be needing a VPN or using Microsoft Express routes to be able to connect to the resources on Azure, so you'll be able to enjoy it. Then also, this is, I remember saying there's a caveat when it comes to your virtual machine. So these virtual machines, they must be domain joined. Like I said, that is why you need your Azure, your Active Directory domain services. That's why you put it. They must be domain joined or hybrid joined. So if you're running on hybrid infrastructure, you're welcome. But then they cannot be Azure AD joined. So this means that it cannot be used for a complaint that is cloud only. Cloud only in essence, in the sense that they don't have any resources on Azure, so they are not IaaS or PaaS. So they don't even have Active Directory. All they have is Azure AD, and the PCs are Azure AD joined. They can all use Windows Virtual Desktop. So it needs to be domain joined or hybrid for you to use them. So I hope that's very informative, and that comes to the end of the my presentation. The next up, we'll be having Oluwaseun set up his environment and show us most of all of these things I've just talked about when it comes to WVD, how to create section hosts, how to assign applications to user, and what the user gets to see when the application has been assigned to them. So all of these things is what we'll be able to see, and we'll be able to also look into some of the security features too that I explained earlier. But in the meantime, while Oluwaseun is making his environment ready, if you have any questions, we'll be glad to take them. So, do we have questions? Oluwaseun, are you set?
Yeah, thank you. I did set.
So in the absence, if there are no questions, then let's see what the demo looks like, and I guess that would explain everything in that sense.
Okay. All right, thank you so much, James. So, Chim, we'll wait for you while you present your. Yes, Joy, you have a question? Yes, so you can go ahead and present while Joy is a question. Yes, thank you.
Should I wait after the demo?
No, go on, because of we can take it.
Okay, hold on. Some of the questions I wrote here, I actually started answering them. One of the things I wanted to find out was how you will connect. Sorry. Okay, first, you mentioned about the partnership between Citrix and Microsoft, but you were not detailed. You just said there's partnership. Partnership can be anything. It'll be good to know, considering that Citrix already runs a service called Virtual Desktop. So it'll be good to understand the kind of partnership that they have with Microsoft as regards this Virtual Desktop technology, so that we can know what to do, or we can know how it relates to us, especially for we who run Citrix in our environment. What connects the Windows VD to the internal network? So beyond just making available virtual desktops for your users, most of the users today, what they use to deliver on their job are browsers, web applications. The question is, so beyond giving them a desktop, they want to connect to internal resources that are not existing on the cloud. What's the, like I said, I don't like English when it comes to technical sessions. So are we doing, is it an internet, over the internet accessibility, or is it a VPN connection to the internal network? Around policies and images, you already explained. So we have pool desktop and we have dedicated desktop, what you call personal. So yes, I can create, from what I heard you say, it means we can create baseline images that we use to assign to different user groups. So that's already assessed. Licensing, you had already mentioned the licensing cost. Policy creation, around policy, can we create custom policies that allow us enforce certain things? For instance, I don't want the user to copy and paste. So when I give these desktops, I don't want the user to be able to copy and paste to their system. The policy side of this, does it allow us to create very granular custom policies? The last M365 session, I asked how the app connector would handle legacy browser and apps, and I am asking again. So when I provision a virtual desktop, obviously Microsoft will not be giving us desktops that they don't support, that's operating system. So how will it handle legacy browsers? So if I have an application that needs to run with Internet Explorer A or Internet or particular job, how does this play out? And lastly, sorry, I asked too many questions, I'm sorry. Audit logs. How do we, the auditing of this, is there in the management, is there ability to be able to see who assessed what they assessed, the applications that they called up? Thank you.
Okay, so I'm actually thank you, Joyce. So I'm actually thinking whether I should take this or I should allow Shehu to first run through his Well, they could, but I've written a lot of them down. So permits me to allow Sean to run through his demo, and then we'll come back to all of your questions. I thought maybe it's just one. That's why I said you can go ahead, but it seems like we have more than one now. So we can just have the be rest assured we'll answer all your question.
Yes.
Thank you, Sean. Please, you can go on.
All right. Okay, so let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, awesome. So so this WVD dashboard, I'm very sure by now we are familiar with some of these terms that are here: OSPO, application groups, workspaces, and users. So I'm very sure these are not new to us any longer. Okay, because I know it was well explained by Adekunle. So first of all, I want to start by provisioning my WVD environment. But one thing that was not included in the slides is that WVD is of two versions. We have version 1 of for 2019. That one has to do with scripting. You have to go via scripting to provision your environment. But this is that of the version 2, where you have the template to work, your ARM template to work with. So for the sake of this demo, I'll be taking you through the version 2 of Spring 2020. So this is my OSPO. Then I've already created one already, but I'll just going to show you how I created it, so it's not going to be new to us. Okay. Okay, pardon me if my internet is quite slow. Okay, so first of all, we have to have a subscription, definitely. Then you have to have your resource group, and your resource group must have your virtual network where all your resources will be using to communicate. And then you must have your domain controller, be it sitting in Azure as IaaS, or sitting in your on-premise server. Then you have your AD Connect syncing your users to your Azure AD. Then you can now be assigning your users your application groups. But now I already have a resource group, so I'm just going to pick on it. Then I'll give my host pool a name. Quickly, I'll just give it a very simple one. Okay. So this is a location where my WVD object will be stored. So it's only available in US for now, but as of today, so I'm going to pick in H2S. So this is option where you have to validate your environment if you want to. Then you have your host pool type, as explained by Adekunle. Then you have personal or pool. So if I say personal, I want to assign one desktop per user. If I say pool, then I want to spread it among my users. So I'm going to say pool. So I cannot give it a concurrent section limit, maybe and use like 5 users to work concurrently. Then I will say breadth first or depth first. If I say breadth first, I want users to be spread across all available section hosts. So if I say section host in this demo, I'm talking about my virtual machine. So if I say virtual machine, I still mean my section host. So if I say depth first, then I'm saying, okay, until this limit is reached on a particular section host, then you can now move to the next available section host. So I'm going to pick in breadth first. If this is fine, then I'm going to next. So I want to create my virtual machine, prepare the environment where my users are going to connect to. Okay, so I have my resource group. So I have my virtual machine location is US. If for example, my VNet is in West Europe, or my domain controller is sitting in Azure as IaaS, and my domain controller is also in West Europe, my VM here must also be in West Europe. So this is different from my WVD object location. Please take note of that. So let me just put this first job. Okay, so we have our VM size. So this is the place where you have to properly size up your VM in terms of your memory, your CPU, the IO, the performance, different workloads of your users. So as Adekunle was explaining, that you can have different workloads that meet different workloads. I mean, different host pools that meet different workloads of your users. So this is where you can actually delegate different sizes of your VMs to meet each of their workloads. So I'm just going to be picking this for the sake of this demo. Then we can just proceed. So I can add two section nodes to this host pool. I can add 3, I can add 4, depends on me. So this is the name I want to name my machine. So I'm going to give it text VM. Okay. So we have your image type here. Okay. I have the gallery, I have the storage block. If I have an image of a production environment, maybe I have a VM already, and I want to use the same configuration on that VM. So I will just create an image of that VM and then save it in my block storage. Then I can provide the URL of the image. Then I use it to provision this section host. But I'm going to be using the gallery. So gallery means I want to search in the Azure market to search for an image. So as you can see, I have my client OS and my server OS. If I pick this with Microsoft 365 apps, I'm saying that when you are provisioning my VM, also install Microsoft 365 apps for me. So that's what this means. So my OS disk type, so I'm to pick, I can either go by premium, standard, or standard SSD or standard HDD, depends on how the speed I want the performance to be. So I'm just going to pick standard HDD and then proceed. So this is my VNet. Okay. So here are my subnet here. So I can either create a subnet for my client machines, and I can either create a subnet for my client machines or my server machine. So how you want to define subnet depends on you, but you can still leave your configuration with your domain controllers, but just depend on how you want to configure it. But I already have my client subnet, my firewall subnet, my gateway subnet, my domain controller subnet. So I'm just going to pick my client subnet. And we have our NSG and network security group. So this is where I want to configure my traffic flow, the security that goes in and comes into my WVD environment. I want to control that flow. So I want to deny some port, allow some certain URLs of certain ports. This is what NSG does for me. So I will leave it at basic. And this is my public inbound port, where if I say this, as an admin, I can log into the VM via this public inbound port to maybe install an application or some applications for my user. Maybe I have some line of business applications I want to install for my users to be consuming. So I can just do this and then log into VM as an admin to do this. Okay. Then I can now specify the port I want to use. Okay. So, like I said, this VM must be joined to a domain, whether it's sitting in Azure, IaaS, or sitting in an on-premise. So this way, you have to specify the domain you want to join to. So I'm just going to say XYZ. So this is optional. If I have a separate OU and I want all my section O's to go to, I can just specify them here, but it's optional anyway. So so this is where you have an account. An account that can join this virtual machine to the domain, to that domain. So I'm just going to say join. Okay, then I can provide the password. Be careful of this password because if it's not correct, it's definitely not going to join the domain. Yeah, it's not going to join the domain, but the VM is going to be provisioned for you, but just that the VM is not going to be joined to the domain. So you have to be careful of the password. Then I'll go next. So this is where I can easily create my workspace or my application group, but I'm not going to be creating this here. I'm going to be showing you later on after this. So next, my tags, then I can review to create. So it's going to validate for a while, and then it's going to create for me. Okay, so, but I already have a host pool, so I'm not going to continue this process. I just wanted to show you how I created that. So let's go back to my host pool. Yeah, so this is my host pool. So let me go into 8. Okay. Okay, so these are my section hosts. Yeah, so as you can see, it states available. If by chance I have provisioned my host pool and then this status goes to unavailable, it means maybe by chance I didn't do what I was supposed to do, or maybe I still have some networking can see. Hello.
Go and bring water.
Okay.
Kindly mute your
If I
device.
still have some networking configuration I still have to do, because these PMs must be available. So if they are not available, there's no way I can assign them to my users. So they must be available. Okay. So having done this, then next I want to create application groups, be it a desktop app or remote app. So I already have 3 remote apps created: Office apps, Outlook, then Paint. But I want to create a desktop app for you so you can see. Okay, pardon my internet. It's slow. Okay. So I'll just select my research group, then my host pool. So you see, I have 2 options. I have remote app and desktop. So take this note. If I have already created a desktop, I can't create another desktop. Why? Because you can only have one desktop for a particular host pool, which means every user makes use of this desktop app to connect to every available section host. But you can have different remote apps because we have different users with different workloads. So I can assign different applications to different users. That's why you can have different apps created for them. But I already have some apps created, so I'm just going to be creating the desktop for the first time so you can know. So I'm just going to give it, let me just see user desk. Very simple. So this is next. So this is where I'm to assign users to the desktop. Okay, I'm going to do this. It's coming up, but it's kind of slow. Okay, it's picking up. So let me look for Jane. Okay, so I'm going to assign this to Jane. So what I'm seeing now is that I'm giving Jane the entire desktop. So going to next. You see this? It says you selected the desktop application group type, which provides full desktop access. This means that Jane has full access to my entire desktop, including the applications inside. There's no need creating application group for Jane. So next is the workspace. So I can decide to register this desktop to a workspace, but I'm going to say no. I'm going to be showing that to you, but I'm just going to say no. Okay, let me just say yes. Okay, I already have a workspace, and let's say next. I then review. I'm going to create this quickly. Just going to validate for a few seconds and then just create. It's not going to take a while. Just a few seconds. Okay. Okay, that is quick. Let me just go back to the environment. Okay. Okay, while it's creating, let me quickly, okay, yes, great, actually, it's not going to take a while. So this is my workspace. So I can have different workspaces for my users to connect to. So basically, a workspace is just the logical environment that my users use to connect to their different application groups assigned to them. So I can have just one workspace across several host pools, which means all my users can use, regardless of the host pools they are connecting to, they can just use one single workspace to connect to different applications and different desktops. Okay, let's go back to application groups. Let's see if I can have my desktop. Okay, so I have my user desk. The one I just created is there. You can see. Let me like this. So I have a remote app, then I have desktop. So let's go to users and see. So this is where you can actually search for your users and see which assignment has been given to them. Sorry, so I'm going to search for this user, Mary. So Mary is Adekule's friend. Let me just search. Okay, let's just see. Okay, so Mary has Office apps and then Paint. Okay, but she's currently having no section. That means she's currently not logged on to any section host. So you can monitor this, and then I can just exit this and let me search for Jane. Okay, remember I assigned Jane the desktop. So let's see. Okay, you see, Jane only has the desktop assigned to her. So now the next step is for me to connect. So I want to connect with Mary. I want to connect with Jane. So there are two means of connecting to your WVD environment. It's either you connect via the web or you connect via the remote client app. So let's assume Mary is in UK. She's trying to access an assignment that I'm given to her via a web browser. Or maybe she's in the cyber cafe trying to access application app via a web browser, and then Jane is on her laptop trying to still access office environment. Okay, so let me just do this. It's going to be okay. Then I have this. Oh, sorry. Okay. So this is, so let me just do this. How did I do this? Okay. So by my right, I have Jane. So Jane wants to access what the admin has been assigned to her. So I'm going to log in with Jane's credentials. So okay, there we go. Awesome. Okay, so just say no. So let's see what happens. So yeah, I have Mary. Mary wants to go via the web browser to see what the admin has been assigned to her. Sorry. So it's gonna paste URLs. So this URL is going to be given by the admin to the user. So I'm going to do this. Okay. As you can see, Jane only has access to the desktop, no other application, just this desktop. So okay, let's just wait for Mary to come up. It's been taking a while. Okay. Okay, I'm bring it down here. Okay. Sorry, my internet might be a bit slow. Let's go. Okay, while we wait for Mary to come up, let's look at Jane. So let's try and log into the desktop and see another review of what it looks like. Yeah. Okay, so I'm connecting. Okay, so you can see. Oh, let's connect. Okay. Okay, so I'm logged on to desktop. Okay. Okay, we're inside the VM. So let's see. So let's see if Jane has access to the Office applications that were installed. Okay, you can see access. She has access. She has Excel. She has everything. She has everything because I have assigned the desktop to Jane, so she has access to everything. But then administrators can also, maybe you want to use group policy to limit access for Jane. Maybe you want to restrict her from downloading from the Microsoft Store, or you want to restrict her from accessing several tasks. You can just do that. So let's see if this machine is even joined to domain. Let's see. Okay, just to confirm. Let's go. Yes, you see my domain jar.xyz. Okay, which means this machine has been joined to the domain. So it's automatic. When you deploy it, it joins the domain and makes it available for your user to use. So this process is just automatic. So we're done with Jane. Okay, so let me just sign out of this and then log in with Mary. See what. Let's see. Let's take a while.
So you're not supposed to open another browser or close this present one and open a new one.
It's gonna come. Is it? Yeah, it's here.
Okay. Okay then. Yeah,
it's just my internet. My internet is just messing me up. Okay, so
I'm sure you're using Glue.
okay, just a jar.xyz. Yeah, so and then password, and then go ahead. It's taking a while. Internet, sorry.
Are you close to the third mainland bridge? Probably maybe the traffic around there is affecting you.
You know.
Yes, it's the new norm. Is understood.
Just messing with me.
It's the new norm.
Okay, so we have Mary logging from the web. As you can see, Mary does not have access to the desktop. She only have access to Office apps, then we have Paint. Okay, so let me just launch Word and see. Then I can just clip this no, not necessarily. You see? Okay, let me just do this. If I could do this. Here you go. Okay. We have two ways friends here. This is Jane by my right, having the desktop, and we have Mary by my left, just having access to Office apps and then the Paint. Okay, I can just log in with Mary again.
So this tells me like Mary is trying to log in with the same Office application that is assigned to her with Office 365, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's do this. So it's gonna come up. Okay, while it's still loading, let me just take you to few security you can put in place to secure your WVD environment. So first of all, we have the network security group, like I was explaining other times. You can just do this. You know, if you have a client subnet for your WVD environment, so you can just create a network security group to control traffic flow into your WVD environment, deny certain port, allow certain ports. So let me just click on any of these and then, you know. Then I go into my subnet. Then I can just click on associate and associate it to the subnet I have created from my WVD environment. And I can just search for it and then assign it to it. So it's as simple as that. So then when I assign it, then I can come to my inbound security roles and then, you know, add a role to deny, deny or either allow, you know. So same applies to the outbound security roles. Yeah, or we can have also the firewall. You can create a firewall against your WVD environment where your all your machine has to pass through before they can move out. Or also, Adekunle was talking about conditional access. That's another means of securing your WVD environment. So I'm just going to allow Adekunle to come in here to emphasize on the conditional access. So you can all see what he was saying. Adekunle.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Luashion. So, okay. Like we said, WVD, it's a cloud application. So it integrates well with Azure Active Directory. So for conditional access, you are able to restrict your users based on some certain factors. So this is it. Sheung is trying to create a conditional access. He's going to define the kind of application the user wants to accept. First of all, assigning it to users or group, your WVD users or group. Select the cloud application you want to. And in this part, you'll be able to see WVD here. And if you notice, you might see a number of WVD. Like Shenwa said, you have the ARM method, and you have the one you get from the marketplace. That's so the two ones. Let's just say the yellow, the red, and the blue. So you can choose any of them. Then you select the application. So once it's selected, you are able to add a condition. So what kind of condition are we looking at here? So we are saying it's either based on the user. If the user is at risk, maybe logging in from somewhere that's very malicious, also that's a signing risk, or the device is not trusted, or the platform. Also, if he clicks on the platform, you'll be able to define what kind of platform do you want the users to be able to log in from before they are going to have access. Then you have based on location also. I don't know, you might just click any of them so they can see what it is. So you can choose here when it comes to location also. And you have the device state, like I said, the device platform, any of this platform you want your users to be able to get to. Then once you settle that, then it boils down to the access you want to grant them. Do you want to require MFA once all those conditions are met, or you want to block their access, or you want to do any other thing? So that's how conditional access with MFA works for you when it comes to WVD. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dean. So that was awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, so basically that was security around WVD. Yes. Yeah, I'm seeing it. Just taking a while. It's gonna come up. Just my internet messing me up. Okay. So basically, these are the two experiences where you connect from the web and where you connect from the desktop client.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So while we wait for the application to pop up, just to answer some of Joy's questions.
Okay.
Okay,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
All right. Do you want to take the Citrix part, Dean, or you want to take that? Because which one do you want to take? Let me quickly take the Citrix part.
All right, that's fine. That's fine.
All right then. Okay, so thank you so much, Joy, for the question. I mean, that's why I'm always glad to have you on the call, because I know you are always speaking on our brains, and then it's the good thing that I always appreciate you on the call at any time. So when you look at Citrix, actually, I mean, what Citrix can actually do is more of complementary, just like what Adekunle Dean said. They are into a partnership. Now, one of the things you want to look that Citrix is actually taking the Microsoft WVD to is the level of wrapping a management layer around it, then the cost optimization and more enhanced security. I might be pasting into, I mean, coincidentally, like I would say, yesterday I received a mail from Citrix for a webinar that is going to take place between Microsoft and Citrix, and they will just want to walk us through on what I might want to paste that. If you are interested, you might want to go there. So, but just to say a bit of what Citrix is going to offer Microsoft WVD. One of the things it does is this, like I said, it brings about another layer of management, flexibility, and security, cost optimization, and the rest. So remember when Dean was saying something, he said when it was presented, he said WVD only lets you run a multi-session with Windows 10 environment. And one of the things they said is that it only runs in the cloud, which is Azure. But with Citrix, you actually have the way it complements the WVD environment is that you can have the approach for you to run your traditional remote desktop session hosts wherever you like. So you can actually run it with WVD. It complements, you can run it on premise, you can run it on Azure, you can also run it on AWS or any of the cloud platform that is supported, like Oracle and Google Cloud, so you can extend that. So that's one of the things Citrix does. Then another thing it does is this, Citrix also offer what is called an optimization path. I mean, for Microsoft Teams, you know, when you like when they were presenting, they said you can actually do your team's presentation from within WVD. But without the optimization parts, it's actually impossible for you to have a very good user experience with Teams when it comes to things like audio, video, or screen sharing from within the WVD environment. So that's what you will want to extend the feature of WVD when you have Citrix. So for organizations that already have Citrix, the beauty about this is that you can always bring your Citrix platform, even if it's something that can extend to the cloud. If maybe your license, what Microsoft calls it is a mobility kind of license, where you can take an on-premise license, say for example, and also still use it in the cloud. So you can actually, if your Citrix environment offers you that also, you can take that license also, and then if that's what is called mobility license, take it to the cloud also and integrate it, so to say, to complement what WVD is. So that's in a nutshell a few of what I can say about it, features that it can do and it can support, and the security part of it. So, but in a nutshell, those two things is what I can actually pinpoint for now. So, like I said, I'll also paste in the chat window. I'll be doing that afterwards. That same webinar registration offer, which is actually going to take place sometime tomorrow or 28, I guess. Where you can also attend to see what it does more. It is just a combination of Citrix and Windows WVD with Azure. Then I guess also it's some of your question around policies. One of the ones I want to answer is when you say, can somebody copy? Can you prevent a user from copying to the desktop? Together with AIP, yes, yes, together with AIP, I want to believe that it's possible. Where you can prevent, maybe when you share a file with a user and you said they cannot copy and paste, or maybe what they can just do is to work. So with that, I think I can answer to that extent. So I'll leave Dean to take the other parts. Probably if there's any other one I can remember why I missed out, I'll come in there.
Okay. Thank you, MJ. Thank you. So really what I want to just explain is around where I know Joy is concerned about the internal application, how it works, and do the users have to connect using the VPN. So for those questions, Sheung has showed us that the PC is domain joined. So if it's domain joined, it has no issues connecting. Okay, this is nice. So this is another feature. You can see this desktop. Yeah, you can actually send messages to the users that are logged in to tell them that you are shutting down soon. So it's an added feature of WVD. That's just to mention that. Then about the internal resources. So for an enterprise environment, when deploying WVD, typically the best practice is to start with a custom image. So this custom image is going to have your operating system, going to have your line of business applications, and everything. You can even test it. So once you are done and you're satisfied with it, then you can bring it to WVD, assign your users, then it works seamlessly. Because obviously, like I said, these VMs are domain joined, so it's assumed that it's in your environment, so it has no issues contacting any of your resources, your servers that you need to contact to get any resource. So that's how WVD works. You have no issues when it comes to, and you don't have to connect via VPN. As you can see, Oluwaseun, it's not using a VPN, it's just connecting to the environment.
All right. Dean, do you want to answer on the audit part of it because of the audits? I think she also mentioned of the audits. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. I don't know if Sheung can probably. So I want to show it to her so she sees what it looks like also. So if we go to, because this is the cloud, this is enterprise. I don't know if I request control, it might be more like.
Maybe you should share your own screen instead. Probably maybe share your own screen.
Okay, just share a screen. Yeah.
Okay.
Since Sheung's internet is very close to Third Mainland Bridge and is undergoing some construction work, so let us not take chances with it.
So I am sharing my screen right now. Please confirm if you can see it.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So first of all.
All right, guys.
Okay. First of all, the message you saw as an admin You can send a message to the users. You can log all the active users off from here. You can drain. So if you want to not allow any other section, you can drain. You can change it to drain mode, so nobody will be able to connect to it anymore. Then when it comes to the auditing part, I have it open already, but I would close it, then I'll go back to it. So this is it. So you go to your enterprise application, then your whole applications, you'll be able to see. So I have a number of WVD here because we have worked with, the old one, that's the red colored one, and the blue colored one. So typically you just need to select the one you want to view. So once you select it, you'll be able to see your sign-in options also. The sign-in. So you'll be able to see the activities, the users that signed in. You can select based on days. If I go to about a month, I'll be able to see all the users and their sessions. So as you can see, Mary Jane has logged on, the time, the IP address, the location also, and the client they use. And also, was conditional access applied? No, it wasn't. And this is today. This is what Shane was just done now, and you can see the time also. So all of these logs you have it, and you can download it if you want to. So I guess that is explanatory, you know.
Okay, thank you so much, Dean. So the next person, Joy, also regarding the application legacy, I don't know whether you received the question and answer from us. We sent that across yesterday to all the people that attended last session, and we treated that also. But we can, like I said, we can take it further from this, so I can give room for another person to talk. Yes, I see that even from 20 minutes into the presentation, Mr. Chime has been raising his hand. So I want to give room to him also to talk, to ask his question. Yes.
Okay, hi, thank you, Kole. Thank you. Yeah, it was a very interesting demo. I have like two questions really. So it's about the domain join. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. So
yes, we can.
The VMs are domain join. Does it mean that the existing on-prem group policies will apply to them? That's my first question. Then for them to be domain join, you mean that means they have to have access to the domain controller, really. If you don't have a domain controller in the cloud, you didn't show that scenario. How do you now make sure that the machines are domain joined?
Okay, that's a very good question. Dean, let me quickly take the first one. So you recall that when the system was when Shehu tried to log into the desktop, you actually see a display message, which also shows your group policy settings, that you've set on-premise, such group policy of when people are logging in, this kind of message they see is that this, this information belongs to your company and all of that. So actually you can push your group policy settings. One. So then when it comes to group policy settings is fine, you get that, it has to be, you can push it. Then to the other question of saying that if you don't have a domain controller on Azure, as they said earlier, what you need to do is this: you have a domain controller on premise, you can do what is called a site-to-site VPN, which means you want to extend your on-premise environment to the cloud. In that way, you might want to have another domain controller in Azure, which can give you a sort of tunnel that the two domain controllers can talk to each other. So typically what you're doing in that sense is you are actually doing what is called, like, you're having another data center, so to say. Oh, so you have your data center in Abuja, and then the next thing is that you're taking another one wherever you've seen DIFT, but this time around you want to put it in Azure. So you just need a site-to-site VPN. So the site-to-site VPN, Azure has its own, but you will need a device on-premise that supports that. The new generation firewall devices actually can give you like a site-to-site VPN. If you have a Cisco device that supports it, why not? You can give you, even if you have a Citrix device that supports it, you can give you. So you have all of that kind of firewall in places that can support it. So you can do a site-to-site VPN and then connect your on-premise domain controller to another domain controller in the cloud. So with that, your WVD does not have to transverse all traffic down to your on-premise. So because your WVD is in Azure, you can actually talk easily with that domain controller in Azure. So with what Shemu has done, it's just that we cannot present a production environment in their demo. In our own environment, there is a site-to-site VPN, and then you can also have we have also the WVD already in place. But it's similar to what they have done right now. It's just the having an Azure pass in the cloud, an Azure domain controller services as a pass in the cloud, and also putting in place. But ideally, you can do all of that. It's not a problem. Dean or Shima, I don't know whether you want to buttress to what I've just said. If there is anything you want to add.
No, you said it all already.
Yes, you've established the points that needed to be established. Yes. So you're talking about two sites on premise and one on Azure side. You have to do this side-to-side communication. So that's awesome. That's the best.
Okay then. All right, guys. Thank you so much. If there's any other question, I mean, a lot of people ask that we should have this. Some of the feedback we got is that we should have this more than an hour, because we feel that people feel that having just like 1 hour for this is not enough. We're also conscious of people's time. We actually want people to rest after a long day job. But all the same, if you still want us to go on with any of your questions, put it in your chat window. Like we rightly said, we'll always get back to you. And if you feel we've not answered your question to your satisfaction, please, you can reach out to us on one-on-one, and then we can throw more light into it. Our social media, I put on this. Please follow us, like us. Or if there's any other question, I'm actually not seeing my screen. Let me see if I can see. I think we can take at least one more. Yes, we have David. Okay, very well. Yes, David, we have, I think we have 2 more questions. Yes, we still have Joy. David, please go ahead. You have not unmuted yourself. Yes, David. Yes, David. David, we can hear you. Okay. All right, David, if you can't hear you, but if you don't mind, can you put in the question into the chat window?
Okay, definitely.
Okay, go ahead. I think we can hear you now.
Okay, sorry. I think my microphone malfunctioned. So my question really is, thanks for this, by the way. So my question is more about tools for management, and then also auto scaling. So I can see an advantage here where if you have different host pools, you only provision or use what you're currently consuming. But if demand grows or user demand scales up, you can scale out to more host pools. So I just want to know if there's a native solution for managing that process and making sure that you're not running unutilized resources.
Okay, does any one of you want to take that, Shim or Dean? Okay, so but before, let me just quickly answer. Do you want to take it, Dean?
No, you can go ahead.
Okay. All right. So good. As regards native, because Microsoft does the load balancing part of it. So with the load balancing, actually you can use your Azure monitor. That's why you can use the Azure monitor to see the part of how the connectivity or how they are scaling and up, so that you can know when to scale. You can scale out. So you can, because of the load balancing, you can usually use the Azure monitor to do that. However, that's the native one. But like I said, in answer to Joyce's question that she asked earlier also, one of the things that organization that has Citrix already, you can actually leverage also with Citrix. So Citrix does more of the robust management. You can leverage on Azure Monitor, which will do what you're asking me to do. That's the native tool for what you're asking just now. But if you feel that one is not adequate enough, you can actually leverage on using Citrix to do further management around that. So I don't know if that answers your question, David.
Yeah, I'll probably take a look at that option. Thanks.
Yes, we'll compile the same question and still give you some links to it where you can look at it further. Joy, do you still have any question, or because I still see your hands raised? Oh, it's David. Okay, all right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for the time. I really appreciate this, and I really appreciate the fact that this is very interactive. It means that we are not just speaking, people are taking notes and people are finding value to what we've been saying. I will also want again to ask you people to please fill our evaluation form. We want to know how we're doing. It is very important for us to get feedback. Feedback is very important. One of the things we want you to do is that follow us on our social media, like us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then give your comments and tell us how much we can improve. We can always get, and then please, if you want us to, improve more on these, or we don't want to choke you, please let us know. But for next week, Tuesday, like we said, we only dedicated Tuesday alone for security talk, cyber security talk. That's what we dedicated our Tuesday alone for. So we're going to be sending out invite again to you for next week, Tuesday. And next week, Tuesday's invite is actually for Sophos fish threat, carrying out a fish threat using Sophos. So you can always join us on that. You'll get the invite also. Then on Thursday, we have a Thursday for TechTalk. Also, if you want to join our MC, it's not Ha-Shem, so let me be careful here. If you want to join the Microsoft Certified Trainer MCT Nigeria, the chapter, we'll have a session tomorrow around 5 to 6. For some of us are already members of the WhatsApp group, and we normally have a session every Friday. If you want to join, this is where we go back to the basics, trying to teach people on everything about M365, whether Windows 10, whether Enterprise Mobility plus Security Suite, and then Office 365 and Azure. So that's what we have on that WhatsApp group, and that we normally have a virtual meetups every Friday. So it is actually for the Microsoft Certified Trainer, but if you're interested in joining the group, why not? This is just a place for you to learn. At least learning is free in this season, so why not make use of it? Thank you so much for the time, and we really appreciate you, and thank you for stopping by. So with that, I want to say goodbye, stay safe, continue to learn, continue to stay safe, and then continue to keep your network safe from any attack. Bye, everyone.